What's up, guys? Welcome back to the arena by Making Moves. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Stewart, and I help chiropractors make more money, reach more people, and change more lives. And I just got back from the acquisition.com headquarters in Las Vegas, where I spent days with Alex Hormozi's team in a marketing exclusive workshop. In that room, I was with some of the best marketers and business owners in the world. And I know it's a room that most chiropractors will never get access to. So I want to spend the next few minutes saving you thousands of dollars, years of learning and hardship by breaking down my 5 biggest takeaways from that few days with Alex Hormozi's team. If you're watching this on YouTube, I appreciate you watching our entire vlog episode. You got to know myself and my team a little bit better behind the scenes. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I'll leave the link in the show notes. Click the link in the show notes because it's going to take you to a full vlog episode of our entire trip in Vegas. It was super fun. I think you'll get a lot out of it. Nonetheless, let's dive in. I'm going to give you my 5 biggest takeaways. Let's get it. First things first, we obviously are trying to grow this channel by giving you guys more free content. So if it resonates with you or you have any really great takeaways from this episode, then please share it with a chiropractor that needs to learn how to better grow their business, how to understand the business principles better so that they can grow their practice, grow their income, and grow their impact. Share it with a few friends, like, subscribe, all the things. That'll be my last pitch for that. Let's dive in. Whenever we got there, what I enjoyed about it is the first thing that they did is they actually broke limiting beliefs of anybody in the room. What they told us was that sometimes you don't have business constraints or your constraints aren't business focused. Sometimes you have belief constraints. Those are preventing you from growing or breaking through your plateaus. And what they stated was that learning means that you're presented with the same condition, but you have a new behavior, and that intelligence is actually your rate of learning. And so they broke it down into what they call the genius flywheel. There's 3 types of people here. There's dumb people, there's smart people, and there's genius people. And dumb people never learn from their mistakes. They repeat the same mistakes over and over and blame their circumstances for their shortcomings. Then there's smart people. Smart people learn from their own mistakes, but they have slow and painful growth because they have to learn from the hardship or the mistake, make the course correction, and then get the better outcome on the other side. And then you have the third type of people, genius people. Genius people learn from other people's mistakes without having to make them themselves. This is the greatest sign of intelligence. You should be learning from other people's mistakes, and that's going to shortcut your path to success. I'm going to give you a lot of my mistakes, or at least a lot of things that you can take away so that you can be a genius person. So let's dive into big idea number 1. Social media is dead. Interest media is alive. This means that it's no longer good enough to just post content you are interested in. You have to post content that generates market interest in order to be relevant, much less grow. This is now being coined as the interest algorithm. The old way was you make a post, you gain followers, you then make an offer, then you make money. The new way is you post, the interest algorithm actually pushes it out to people that have expressed interest in that topic, where you can then make an offer in order to make money. For organic social media, followers no longer matter for business results. Quality of content does. So this may be obvious, but they stated that the metric most tied to revenue from organic social is not views, likes, or shares, it's actually saves. This means you created something valuable enough that people saved it to come back to. So if you're going to be looking at anything on social media, it should be how many people saved that post. They ended this section by emphasizing that all content with the intent of driving business must be niche specific. And in the Chiro Ads Academy, we call that condition specific. And we build all of our funnels that way, from the ad scripts to the ad copy to the offer name to the landing page to the thank you page and all of the following automations after that, which is why the docs in our program average such a high return on ad spend and blow agency performance out of the water. Condition specific and niche specific content is always going to convert better. They emphasize this the entire 2 days that we were in that room. Niche specific, niche specific, niche specific. You are posting niche and condition specific content that is pushed out by the interest algorithm that goes to the people that need to see it most so that you can move them up the ascension ladder, converting them into a client so that you can generate revenue and grow your business. So here's the 5 steps that they use to make content that slaps. That's what they called it. That's not my words, that's theirs. So proof proof, promise, plan, pain, and picture. And proof should be, why should I listen to you? So your content should be leading with vicious amounts of proof, because the first thing that they ask themselves when they see your content pushed to them is, why should I listen to you? The next question they're going to ask is, what results does your product or service provide? And remember, this is not the features of your product. This is the benefits experienced by the end user. So that should be how you communicate the promise that you are providing inside of your practice. The next P is going to be plan. How are you going to get me there? I know what results your product or service provides me, but what type of plan are you actually going to give me to make sure that you get me from where I am, which is in a place of pain right now, to where I want to be, that aspirational goal. So you want to give a clear roadmap here. And we provide a 90-day custom corrective care program that combines chiropractic decompression and corrective exercise with spinal molding tools to mobilize, stabilize, and strengthen your spine for long-term results. That's how we can actually communicate our plan. The next P is going to be pain. Do you understand my problem? This is where we can label their problem and explain it to them in a third grade reading level to not only educate them, but to demonstrate that we know exactly what they're feeling and why. They need to know before they ever walk into your practice that you understand their pain at such a deep level that your advertisement, your reel, your graphics post, your carousel, whatever it is speaking directly to them. If they can look or consume one of your pieces of content and say, wow, I feel like that piece of content was form fit for me, then you did a great job of demonstrating that you understand their problem, or their fourth P, which is pain. Now, the last P here is going to be picture. So this is where you want to paint the picture for them. You're going to label their current state. You're going to label their future desired state. You're going to state the obstacles in their way from achieving that desired state. You're going to state past experiences that prevented them from achieving that desired state. You'll state the differentiated roadmap that you can provide them, and then you'll state how they'll feel once they've achieved it. Okay, we love stories. We love pictures. A picture is worth 1,000 words. If you can paint the picture for how they currently feel with the problem that they have, how you can help them get from where they are to where they want to be, and really paint that end result picture of the life effect that they're going to feel whenever they're liberated from this problem, then you're going to convert people way more every single time. Big idea number 2 is Meta's new AI algorithm or brain called Andromeda. Andromeda is what has made it easier than ever to run your own ads as a chiropractor, and has literally decimated the need for marketing agencies. Acquisition.com and their team absolutely hated on agencies the entire time we were there. They were ruthless and relentless, stating that you should not be using a Meta agency repeatedly, to the point to where I actually felt bad for some of the agencies in the room because they didn't hold back at all, and they repeated that message over and over and over again. So what is Andromeda? Andromeda is the new AI algorithm that Meta introduced in October of 2025 that turned creative into the new targeting, which means you don't have to spend time in the settings anymore. So you don't have to go in the back end of the ads manager and be toggling any of the settings. All right. So everything that you're putting out from a creative standpoint is what's actually driving your content out to the people that need to see it. All of this targeting happens through the interest algorithm that I talked about before, kind of the organic interest algorithm. But from a paid side, this is way smarter, and it's actually pulling the substance in your creative, your call outs, your labels, your pain point presentations, your messaging, your offer, all of the visuals, all of those things, and it's sending it out to people based on their interest. And I know that sounds weird, but I know you've experienced it, where you're talking about something, where your phone's in the room, or maybe you made a Google search about something, and then all of a sudden you start getting hammered with these hyper-targeted ads. That is the AI algorithm, and it's getting better and better and better. Not to belabor the point here, but this is exactly what we teach, and we have been teaching in the Chiro Ads Academy for years. So this algorithm, although it crushed a lot of ad accounts, agencies, and chiros, actually played to our advantage, and we've seen improved results across the board through all markets in the United States and Australia, which is probably why we're one of the fastest growing companies in the industry, but I digress. So again, link is in the show notes if you want to learn more about what we do. One of the key takeaways that I had from this section, though, is that 99% of businesses are underspending on marketing. They recommend that at least 10 of your gross revenue target be spent on marketing, and I know for sure that chiropractors are not doing that, which means that if you have a target, a revenue target of $250,000, then your marketing budget, your allocation to driving new business into your practice should be $25,000. That would blow a lot of chiropractors' minds. Chiropractors see marketing as an expense. They are not willing to invest in marketing, even though it's the fuel for your business. More on that in a moment. But again, 10% of your revenue target. If you have a goal, work backwards, reverse engineer. If you want to hit 100K, you should be spending $10,000 a month on marketing. And this plays into one key element that I love so much about ads, which is like the more that you spend, the more that you increase your budget, the more people that Meta will push your content to. You're literally buying eyeballs instead of organic, where you post and you pray that it gets pushed out to more people, and it's dependent upon the quality of content that you create as to how many people are actually going to see it. With Meta, if you pay for attention, then no matter how bad your content sucks, it gets pushed out to hundreds of thousands of eyeballs. All right. Now, obviously, we want your content to be good so that it actually converts views into leads and then leads into new patients. But nonetheless, you're buying the eyeballs. And the exposure effect, which is very well studied, tells us that repeated exposure becomes preference, which means that every time that they see your brand, that they see your practice, that they see your post, that they see your ad, they actually start to grow in preference and trust your brand more and more until they're finally closer to making their decision to actually take action on your advertisement. So here's some quotes to keep on your desk, or some big takeaways. Marketing today equals sales tomorrow. Repeated exposure equals preference. When you stop being seen, you start being forgotten. Creative is king, and hooks are the keys to the kingdom. You got to hook people's attention, which is outside the scope of this video, but there will be more on that in the future. And remember, whatever your gross revenue target is, you should be spending 10% of that on your marketing budget. And Andromeda has made it easier than ever for you to run your own ads if you know what you're doing through the new creative targeting instead of toggling all the systems on the back end. Don't pay an agency. It's a complete waste of money. Put all of that into creating good content, owning an awesome ad system, and you can make more money, reach more people, and change more lives. Big idea number 3, 5 levels of awareness. This is a concept that originated from a marketer named Gene Schwartz, but I love how they broke it down. So you have your pyramid of awareness, and we're going to start with the lowest, which some people talk about cold, warm, and hot. That's exactly what I'm talking about here, but I'm breaking it down even further. So we have unaware, which is the bottom of the pyramid. We have problem aware right above that, solution aware right above that, product aware right above that, and at the very top is the most aware. Now, when we're talking to unaware clients, we want to be curiosity driven. So we actually want to present the idea that they may have a problem that they didn't know they had. All right. Did you know that Geico could save you 10% on car insurance? So they're actually creating curiosity. Wow, I never even knew that I should be thinking about whether or not I'm overpaying for my car insurance. Next is going to be problem aware. That has to be pain driven. Solution aware is promise driven. Product aware is proof driven. And the people that are product aware are currently comparing products typically. And then you have most aware, which are just offer driven. Get out of the way, give them an offer, and let them buy. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What I did learn is that most of us are spending way too much time on the most aware and product aware without addressing whether people even know that they have a problem or are aware that there are solutions to solve their problem. So we need to be speaking individually and directly to each level of awareness, because the algorithm is so interest driven that most people, it pushes content toward are problem and solution aware, which means we always have to come down. We need to be speaking directly to their problems. Well, first off, driving curiosity if they're unaware, speaking directly to their problem, and then telling them that there's a solution to that problem. And one of the things that I really liked about this, and I'm going to go further into detail here, is that you can actually translate a lot of these levels of awareness into your sales system. And what that means is that you can actually determine your discovery questions or your consultation questions to match their level of awareness to ensure that you're meeting them where they're at. So the way that it was framed is to think of each level of awareness as a door. Which door the prospect came through should determine the sales motion or how you move them through the process. So I'm going to dive into the details here of the marketing and sales integration of the 5 levels of awareness. And one thing to note is that sales is just marketing written down. There should be no separation between your marketing and your sales, which again is why I'm anti-agency, because you are delegating or abdicating or putting your marketing in the hands of other people who don't know your message, they don't know your market, they don't know your community, and they don't maintain brand integrity. And if you have a sales process that is separated from your marketing process, that is called incongruency. And patients are able to detect that more than ever now in this age of an informed consumer. So we want to make sure that those are not separated. So your marketing is just your sales, and your sales is just your marketing written down. All right, so there's a few doors by which people find chiropractors through. So each door carries a different level of awareness based on the 5 levels of awareness. So we're going to start from the bottom, unaware. Next is problem aware. Next is solution aware. Next is product aware. And lastly is most aware. The most unaware people that come into your practice are either going to be walk-ins, or they're going to be people that you get at like an external screening event. Now, the reason why is because external screening events are very interruption heavy. Have you had your spine checked lately? When was the last time you had your spine checked? Are you interested in what we're doing here? You know, you have those questions that prompt interaction, and then in that interaction, you're going to create a little bit of curiosity. So it's curiosity driven. Remember, that's what I said that unaware is all about, is by creating curiosity. But then you're taking people that only have been piqued in their interest through the curiosity-driven question, and now you're offering them to come into your practice, and so you're skipping a lot of those rungs of awareness. So when they come in, they're the coldest, and you have to ascend them up the ladders of awareness before they reach the tipping point or the decision point to actually start care. So these people are the most challenging to convert over time. Now, next is going to be problem aware. Now, these are warm leads, okay? And these people are typically coming from something like Google ads. So it's paid intent search. Now, remember, problem aware is pain focused. So these people are in pain. They searched their problem on Google. You showed up as an ad because you bought the digital real estate at the very top of the page. Before they could do any other research, they clicked the ad at the top of the page, and then they either called the office or they booked on the landing page. Again, they didn't spend much time with you. They didn't browse through your website. They haven't seen a ton of your content and been exposed to your practice and your brand, but they are in pain and looking to solve a problem, and you showed up and they clicked your page and booked an appointment or called your office. So again, those are warmer than the unaware, but not as warm as the solution aware. So for solution aware, these are going to be people that made it to the website. So this is mainly SEO, search engine optimization. They searched, scrolled down through the map section, and they're looking at all the reviews, and they're now comparing different offices, and then they click yours because of where you're ranked, but they have done more research than the Google ad folks, and they browsed your website. Maybe they browsed several other websites as well to compare you versus other people, and then they booked an appointment inside of your practice because they liked what they saw. They are aware that they have a problem. They understand their problem. They know that chiropractic is a solution. They search for a chiropractor. They search through several different chiropractic offerings, and they chose you. So now they are fairly warm. When they come in, you only have to ascend them up 2 ladders, which is the product aware. How are you going to actually solve their problem? What's the plan that you're going to put forward for them, and then actually giving them an offer. Next is going to be product aware. Now, these are warmer than solution aware, but not as warm as most aware. Now, with the product aware people, these are mainly like trust-based meta ad system folks. So these are people that, again, we're talking about a really dialed in ad system, not your generic $27 coupon ad static photos that was created by AI by somebody in the Philippines that's hired by your agency for $3 an hour. All right, this is high quality, professional, high converting ads that's built into an entire system that builds trust with people along the way. Now, whenever you have people that come from this trust-based meta ad system, we have and leverage what's called the exposure effect, which means that they've seen your content day after day after day after day. We're targeting them. They are being targeted, hyper-targeted, because Facebook's algorithm knows that they have the problem that you are presenting a solution for. So they're going to put it on their feed repeatedly until they finally either take action or say they're not interested. So the exposure effect is real here. They've seen you 7, 10, 14 different times. You have trust built now over time because, like I said earlier, repeated exposure becomes preference. You've pre-framed them now on your corrective care approach so they understand that this is a long-term solution, and they've repeatedly watched your stuff, so now they're going to get retargeted. Okay? These people are extremely aware, and then when you give them an offer, they're generally going to take it. They're going to come in very warm, and they're going to come in knowing your name, your staff's name. They're going to know exactly what protocols you provide. They're going to come in knowing exactly what protocol they want and how long it's going to take to actually solve their problem because they've been watching your ads for so long. So this demographic of people are going to come in typically ready to buy, and then most aware, this is your hottest people. These are referrals, okay? They have great conversion percentage because typically they have been introduced to your practice by a friend or a family member that's had great results, and they're going to ask that person, how long is the program? How much does it cost? What am I in for during my exam process? They're going to know all of that information before they come in. So when they come in, they're ready to buy. Get out of their way. Make the buying process as frictionless as possible because you typically don't have to ascend them up the rungs of awareness. They're ready to sign for your corrective care plan and solve their problem. They are outcome seekers, all right? So we had unaware, which is the coldest, your external screening events, problem aware, which is warm, that's Google Ads, solution aware, which is going to be SEO, made it to the website, browsed and booked, product aware, way warmer, which is your trust-based meta ad system. We leverage the exposure effect. We built trust over time. We pre-framed our corrective care approach, and they repeatedly watched, and we retargeted them. We gave them an offer. They came in. They're ready to sign up, and they know all of the people inside of our practice. Most aware are going to be referrals. They are the hottest, great conversion percentage, but it's limited in its scalability. It's extremely unpredictable. You can't grow to 100K, 150K months and beyond if you don't have those leverageable channels such as the trust-based meta ad system, Google Ads, and SEO, along with a heavy dose of referrals. So each door carries that level of awareness or a different level of awareness. And in sales, we want to actually walk through our sales process based on what level of awareness that they're at. Now, I just want to give you a few tips on sales here that they gave to us. So they're talking about overcoming objections. And one of the things that I liked about their objection handling is they call it objection looping, which is first acknowledge, then address, then ask. So you're going to acknowledge, I hear you, I completely understand where you're coming from. Then you're going to address the objection, okay? Ask deeper questions, and then you're going to add in a case study that mirrors or explains away the objection that they just gave, and then you're going to ask for the sale again and then reinforce the buying decision. This is something that us chiropractors don't do enough. I think that we can take great notes from high-level sales systems, objection handling or objection looping, acknowledge, address, ask. Okay, then you have BANT, which is to gauge urgency. Again, just a few tidbits here. BANT, B-A-N-T, budget, authority, need, and time frame. Budget, do you have the money? Is this somebody who, has a job or has the disposable income to be able to pay for services inside your practice? If not, probably not going to be a lot of urgency around signing up for one of your corrective care plans. Authority, are you one of the people that can make decisions for your family? If the answer is no, then you may need to overcome that by either having that person in the room or letting them know on day one that they are going to need to make a financial decision. So to have that conversation with their significant other before they come back. Need, how big is the pain point? Do you actually need this corrective care plan right now based on your own perspective? If they don't feel like they need it, they're probably not going to invest in it. And then time frame, how fast are you willing to move? We'll come back to this outside the scope of this video today. We'll come back to this in a sales section in a future video. I just wanted to give you a few tidbits there. Big idea number 4 is in paid ads, okay? We talked about organic. We talked about the Andromeda, and then I'm going to give you a few key takeaways here from paid ads specifically. So with Andromeda, you must be extremely specific with the new algorithm, which means that the 4 things that make an efficient and effective ads machine is your targeting, creative, account setup, and offer. Okay, so best targeting wins, which means that you should take a segmentation analysis of all of your best clients inside of your practice and determine what they have in common. Then you should create content that is directly curated for them. What was the exact pain point that they had and what made them buy? Next is going to be creative, okay? So you must call out the avatar and the pain point. Next is going to be the account setup. So we want 1 creative per ad set. Too many ads in 1 ad set can actually starve out the potential winners. You don't want to optimize for leads either, their name and information. You want to optimize for qualified leads, where you actually ask them qualification-based questions on the lead form so that you create some type of friction to ensure that you're getting the right people inside your practice. And then for the offer, if the first 3 are nailed down and you're still having problems, then it's probably the offer. So you want to make sure that your offer aligns with your best lifetime gross profit clients, okay? Next takeaway here is that you have to have creative volume. What they called this at acquisition.com is qualium, quality and volume. So typically what you want to create is, like they say, 10 new creatives per week for every $10,000 a month of ad spend. We have not seen that be the case in chiropractic. If you create kick-ass ads, which is what we teach you to do. We use our kick-ass ad scripting process. If you create kick-ass ads and we set it up in a very diverse campaign structure, then you can have very low ad fatigue, which means that your ads can perform for, months at a time. But just know that the more you spend in ad spend, the harder it is to scale, the more that you're going to have to create new, fresh creative. So the takeaway quotes here to keep in mind is your market is not saturated, your creative is. You need more, better content, plain and simple. And then Andromeda is the best thing to happen to small business owners. It means that you simply can run your ads in-house to make more money, reach more people, and change more lives if you learn how to build that trust-based ad system that can get you a 6 to 12x return on ad spend month after month, and again, make the need for agencies obsolete. Here we are bringing it home 37 minutes into this video here, so I hope it's been super valuable. If it has been, click the subscribe button, click the like button, share this with a friend or a colleague that needs to better understand business principles. Big idea number 5, systems in the 4D framework. So what they said is that people problems are always systems problems, which means that there's not clear steps, actions, and processes in order for people to model. And that shows up as a people problem. And the way that they liken this is that your business is a motor vehicle, which means that you have your fuel, your engine, your steering, and your navigation. That's all of the systems inside of your practice. And your fuel is the energy for the business. That's your leads, and that's driven by marketing. Your engine is turning the fuel into forward motion, and that's your sales. It's capturing the revenue. It's taking the revenue, which is creating the growth of the practice and the business. Then you have your steering, which is your daily tactical applications, and that's your operations or your ops. And then you have your navigation, which is determining where we're headed and the path we're going to take in order to get us there. And that's your leadership. So if you're stuck or you're plateaued or you're not growing as fast as you'd like to, then there's a problem with one of these 4 components of your vehicle. And so in order to understand where the problem is so that you can grow through it, and I'm going to take you through an awesome framework for this called the theory of constraints in an upcoming video. But for today, I'm going to walk you through their 4D framework. You first have to take the vehicle to the mechanic. So you have to do a diagnostic process. So the first D in the 4D framework is diagnose. We have to be able to diagnose the problem. And in order to diagnose the problem, you have to know, first off, where are you wanting to go? How fast do you want to get there? What's your revenue number? What's your margins? What's your date, your end date, your estimated time of arrival? When do you want to get there? And so then you have to be able to determine, okay, this is where I want to go, how fast I want to get there, the path that I want to take, and this is where we're headed right now. then you have to go a layer deeper and you have to be able to document and define your current state. So how are the current states operating versus where you want to go? We're going to define and document every system in order to understand exactly where those constraints may be. And then we're going to leverage AI. All right. So this is what they do. They're an AI first company. So then they're going to take their diagnosis and their documentation and definition of their current state, and they're going to design a better system using AI. So they're going to put all of that information in AI and say, all right, what we're going to do is use the CAR acronym here. I want you to compress, amplify, and reimagine. So we're going to compress everything down. We're going to amplify the results, and we're going to reimagine the current process so that we can get there faster. And then you deploy, diagnose, document, design a better system, and then deploy it, which is where you take it into the field and then you test it through humans in your practice to actually see what works. Now, they said that this is how they have grown exponentially faster than any other business in the industry, is because they use this 4D framework and leverage AI to help them get there. Their favorite tool for this is going to be Claude and Claude Skills. So if you're not currently using Claude, you absolutely should be. So to drive this point home, I want to give you a little bit of context. What they said is that Alex keeps tons of white space, hours. I think they said 8 hours of white space on his calendar every single day to focus on only solving the single constraint of the business. And now the quote that they gave us from Alex was that some things just stay fucked and that's okay, which means that you should only be focused on the single growth lever to drive your business forward, and some of the other things are going to stay fucked. Some of them are dumpster fires, which means they're already contained. They're not going to spread out into the wilderness. They're not going to cause this huge uproar and sink your ship. They're going to be small dumpster fires that look urgent, but they're already contained. Close the lid on it, suffocate the air, and let it burn. Now, house fires, something that's going to be catastrophic for the business, you might need to reallocate your focus for. Put out the house fires, leave the dumpster fires alone, understand that some things just stay fucked, and then spend as much of your focus time as possible solving the one single constraint of your business. And I imagine if you're on this video, the one single constraint of your business is probably your marketing. I'm going to end this video here. It's been 44 minutes of takeaways. I hope it was valuable. Again, this was the information that they communicated to us. I digested it, I organized it here, and I gave you as much as I could. I'm going to be breaking down way more details of how we can actually implement and install this into our practice to make more money, reach more people, and change more lives as chiropractic business owners, because that is my passion. Thank you for spending time with me in the arena. I'll see you on the other side.